Hello everyone, this is Brother Birch. Welcome to week 5. If you guys didn't notice, the programming or the chapter this week was pretty intense. Lots of new stuff. Also getting us ready for an exam that we have at the end of this week. So I wanted to go through one of these programs real quick. Your assignments are amongst these programs. So we're going to look at number 3. Write a defining table in a JavaScript program that asks a user for a distance in kilometers and then converts that value into miles. Okay. Your program should correctly handle real numbers. All right, so I'm going to open this up. Let me grab some code from a template file that I have and paste it in here. All right, so there we go. Okay, so here's my template file that I have right here. I'm going to come back down to that assignment. It was the third one. Okay, so let's write a defining table. Okay, so if we think back, a defining table will be inside of the script tag inside of the head tag. Okay, and then in here, I'll just start off a comment and say defining table. Okay, and then we're gonna have input and processing and output. Okay. All right. So what is our input going to be? It says here that asks a user for a distance in kilometers, then converts that. Okay, so asks the user for distance. Oops. Distance in kilometers. Convert to miles, and then we're going to output the miles. Output value in miles. Okay, now with this processing, what I like to do here is figure out any type of math that I'm going to have before I even really start my program. So I'm going to just Google it and be like kilometers to miles. Okay, so here's our formula. 1 kilometer equals this many miles. Okay, so we'll say K times this equals miles. Okay, so that's my defining table. Okay, and then I'm going to come into my body, and let's put like an H1 right here. It says kilometer to mile calculator. Okay. Now, at this point, I want to copy this file path or click on open in browser, okay, and run it and make sure that my program is actually working, okay. You can see I don't have a title. I could put this in here and say chapter 5 programming exercise 3. And then if I come back over here and refresh, that'll show up here, okay. And then I have my H1 tag right here. All right, so with that, I know I'm going to need a couple of things. So we have an input that we need. Type text, ID, let's say kilometers. Whoops. Okay, and then we'll just close that. Okay, I'll refresh this again, make sure that that's working. Sweet. And then in here, I'll say, just right before it, I'll say, please enter a number in kilometers. Okay, if I refresh it again, you can see that shows up over on this side. Okay, and the user can type in here. All right, now I want one other thing on this line. Okay, so if I don't put something like a break in here or anything like that, then this will currently just stay on the same line. So I'm going to add a button. All right, and if I save and refresh this, you can see I have this little button right here, and I'll say convert to miles. In between the tags, that will be the actual value that shows up in the button right there. Okay, and I'll say on click, and at this point, I need to call a function. Okay, so I'll say K to M. All right. You know what? I'm actually going to say kilometers to miles. A little more descriptive. Okay. Now in here, I'm going to have to declare that function. All right. So now if I run that again, nothing changed, but I have a button here that's actually going to do something, and I have this here ready to rock this math that I've already figured out. Okay. So, but first, when the user puts something in here, I'm going to have to retrieve that value. So I'm going to say var k, which would be my kilometers, equals document dot get element by ID. And then what ID did we use? We did kilometers. Okay. Dot value. Okay. So this will isolate an HTML element in here. So with just this, I've isolated this entire input. Okay, it would have attributes like type and ID and size and spacing on the page and like everything. Okay, and when I say dot value, I'm going to say, okay, I want the actual value of that. Whatever the user typed in, that's what I want. Okay, and then I'm going to put that into K. All right, so we can check to see if this is working. If I hit F12, and I've gone over this a little bit more um, in some of my other videos. All right, but I'm gonna put like 5 in here and hit convert to miles, and I put this breakpoint right here, and you can see document has all sorts of stuff in here, including my URL, like it's the entire document. And when I highlight this get element by ID kilometers, you can see it has input number sign kilometers, isolating that ID. It has attributes, autocomplete, autofocus, class name, client top, width, height, data set, all this stuff in here. And towards the bottom, we have value of 5. Okay, and that's what the user typed in. Okay, so that's what we're going to get, and that is what ended up, that's what will end up in K. Okay, so let's come back here real quick. So we get that value. Now, the assignment said we should be able to handle real numbers. Now, what this means, if you remember just now when I hovered over that value, let's do that again. If I hover over this whole thing and see what value is, you can see it has a 5 in quotations. See that? That's not a number, you guys. It looks like a number, but it's actually a string. That's what the quotations are there for. The data type is a string. So to deal with that, we're going to have to say parse float, and we're just going to parse this entire thing. Okay, we just threw this entire value inside of a function that will parse it into a number. Okay, if I let that go and refresh it and try it again, you can see that K is now 5. It's not like 5 in quotations, it's the number 5. Okay, and that's a good thing. That's what we need because we can't really do math like this on a string. We can only do math on numbers. So now I'll say var m equals, we've already done the math. I'll just copy and paste this down here, and then I'll say return m. Well, I guess I can't return it. I'll say document dot get element by ID, and then I want to print this somewhere. Dot inner HTML equals m. Okay. Now, to print it somewhere, I'm going to just put a div down here with an ID of, we'll say miles. That makes sense. And close that div, and then we'll stick this ID right here. Okay, so we've gotten the input from the user, we've done the math to get the miles, and then we'll say, okay, isolate the miles ID that it will find down here, and in the inner HTML of that ID, inject this. Okay, so let's run this. Let's take off this breakpoint. We don't need it anymore. Hit 5 here and convert to miles, and you can see we have 3.106855. Never round unless you're told to in your assignment prompts. So just to test this, I would always want to test this, and I'd put a 5 right here and 3.10686. Okay, 3.10. They rounded it, but that's okay. All right, so always check your math. Try to some of the assignments are a little trickier than others, but you always want to try to check them and make sure that you're computing the right values. But that's this assignment for you guys. Okay. If you have any questions, just let me know. If you guys were curious, you also don't have to declare a separate value for m. You could just put it like that, and that would work as well. If I hit refresh and put 5 in there, you can see it did that exact same math. Oh, even with my typo, look at that. Okay, so JavaScript's kind of fancy like that. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could even like stick this in place of right there, and then it would look like that. But that's getting pretty ugly, okay? But it would still work the exact same way, okay? But anyways, hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys later in the week.